Hey guys, I'm Tawny. I am half of Two Dimes on a Grapevine. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed lately is people always say to me, like, oh, you seem so confident and you seem so sure of yourself. And I just want to give a little bit of a background to that because I feel like there's something about my journey lately, especially since I turned 30. I'm 34 now, so it's been quite a journey. But I think there's something that I've learned in my 30s that I can share with others because I know that maybe I come across like I'm super confident and I have my shit together, but it hasn't been easy. To give you a little bit of a background, I've always been a very quiet person. I'm always the person at the table that's observing what everybody else is doing. I try to take it all in, I give advice, but I'm not very good at articulating how I feel because I don't often ask for help and I don't often ask for advice unless I really, really, really need it. Essentially, what I was doing my whole life, being so quiet, was doing a disservice to myself because I'm a sensitive person, and what was happening was every time I did try to talk about how I felt, I'd get super emotional and I would cry, and I couldn't relay how I was feeling properly, and I'd end up shutting down because it was so overwhelming to me. So I know that there's tools, and it's always been a given that if you really want to get something off your chest, write it down. Well, I've always been a singer songwriter, and yes, writing things on paper has been super helpful. But I found that until I really started to say how I felt out loud, I couldn't come to terms with it because it's different writing how you feel on paper and getting it out that way than to actually explain and articulate how you feel. One of the biggest blessings that's happened to me this year is that Nicole, the other half of Two Dimes on a Grapevine, and myself, we started a podcast, and I have had the opportunity to talk about how I feel a lot more. So it's becoming easier, but it's not easy still. I even still find that there's times when I like fumble over my words or I'm lost for words. Like even now I have to think about it sometimes because I'm like, how am I really feeling? What does that sound like when I say it out loud? But I can say that this experience has been huge for me, very therapeutic and very necessary for my journey. And I'm not going to tell you to start a podcast, but I think there is something to saying how you feel out loud. So whether you say it to yourself, you're looking in a mirror, talking to yourself, which might seem super weird and funny, but I think that it would be a really cool exercise. Or even if you took your phone and recorded yourself and gave yourself a little insight into how you really feel out loud, it would be easier for you to translate that into a conversation with someone else, especially when you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody. I find that I often rehearse it first. So if I felt like someone hurt me or has wronged me, and I have that relationship where I know I'm going to talk to them eventually, but I just have to take my time to think about it. Be like brushing my teeth, getting ready for school, getting ready for work, laying in bed, and if no one's around, hopefully, I'll have like a practice conversation just to kind of get out what I want to say. Even doing this video, I had to think about what I was going to say because I want to make sure that I'm translating the right thoughts and feelings. Now, I would hope that I don't have to do that for the rest of my life and that it gets easier, but if you're like me and you've been quiet for so long, it's practice. So I'm not mad that I still have to practice because I feel really good about it. And I feel like now when someone says like, oh, you seem super confident, that's like a huge compliment to me. I've really had to work on it, but it means that it's actually working. If you feel like you have a hard time expressing yourself or you get frustrated easily or you get defensive easily, it's usually not because you're sad or upset. Usually it's because you're frustrated that you can't express how you're feeling. So the frustration might not actually lie in the problem, it lies in you not being able to express yourself. What you say matters, and the only way you're going to get past certain things in life, and the only way you're going to communicate to the people you care about and really tell them how you're feeling, is to use your words. And if you feel uncomfortable using your words, practice using your words as much as you can. And then the more you say how you feel out loud and you really come to terms with your emotions, the less they're going to overwhelm you when you start to have those difficult conversations. I know for myself, a lot of the time when I got up the courage to say how I felt, it would overwhelm me so much because I never maybe admitted it to myself or I never came to terms with it. And even if I wrote it down, it doesn't mean that I that I really owned it. So then when I opened my mouth and said it out loud and owned it and it hit me, it's almost like your words come back to you and they hit you so hard, and then I would just be so overwhelmed with emotion. It's almost like I was reliving the experience over again. But the more that I said it, the more I talked about it, the more I had these like real, chill conversations with people around me, the easier it got to talk about how I felt. Owning it to myself and acknowledging what I really felt helped me like more than I could ever imagine. And I don't think anybody ever gave me this advice. It just kind of came from a desire to be better. Every day I try to be a better version of myself, and I know that in past relationships, I've been told, in romantic relationships, but also just friend relationships or relationships with my family, I've always been told that I'm really quiet and I can come across as kind of bitchy, and I didn't want to have that be a characteristic of mine anymore. And I think that I never meant to be bitchy. I was quiet because I didn't know how to express myself. So, and then in relationships, I was always told like, you never open up, you never tell me how you feel. And it's not because I didn't want to, and it's not because I'm ashamed of how I feel. It's because I didn't know how to express myself properly without sounding defensive or being super emotional and sensitive. Um, and I just I took that advice, I took that feedback. I really did some serious self reflecting and thought to myself, you're in your 30s now. You want to sing, you want to do this, you want to have this business, you want to do all these things. You got to learn how to speak. So I know that I can fake it till I make it, and I can sit here and sound like I got it all figured out. And maybe if I'm in certain social situations, I can sound like, yeah, she really gets it. But if you really know me, then you'd know that I'm like super quiet and I have a really hard time expressing myself. But I would hope that anybody who's known me now for the last maybe 4 years or so um, would know that I've gotten better. And even if anybody didn't notice, I know for myself because right now I can talk about this and it feels good. It's like a weight has been lifted, it's therapeutic. And now I feel like I actually have something to offer, something of value that would help someone else. I hope that this little bit of advice, information, insight, realness has helped you. What I want to do is offer some value into your life. And if I can do that through my experience, that's like seriously all I want in life is just to, help people and hope that they can take something away and maybe not have to go through some struggles that I went through. I'm really excited that you did tune in to listen to me give you some advice. And if you have any comments or questions, or you just want to share and say, like, I've been through that too, I would love to hear that because nobody likes to feel like they're alone. Everybody likes to feel like they have that connection with somebody else and can be like, yeah, I totally have the same experience. What did you do? What did you do? So please share your insight if you have any, either in the comments or send me a private message, whatever you want to do. But as always, I'm here for you. This is a safe space, and there's going to be many more of these videos coming out, so just keep an eye out. And if you want to reach out, I'm here.